Friday morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. Yaman. Thank you very much for joining us for the weekend, Friday edition of Good Day, Grenada. We're at the end of another week, certainly hope. Although it's not yet over, certainly hope things have gone pretty good for you so far this week. And he's smiling. He's smiling. Why is he smiling? I'll tell you why he's smiling. We have a new winner this morning. New winner. Yes, sirree. Mr. Bernard Gilbert. Bernard has probably been trying hard, to keep up with the Antheas and the Hazels and the Peters and all of that. Well, this morning is his turn. Bernard Gilbert is first up on the stream there this morning. So good to see you, Bernard. And by the way, Peter seems to be inching back up. He's number 2. Anthea, kind of stable. She's number 3, but she's had her share, so nothing to complain about. Yes, sirree, there you have it. That's the lineup so far. Bernard, Peter, and Anthea this morning. My dear friends, what are we going to get into today, right, over the next hour? We are going to first take a look at why this is going to be, from the look of things, from what I'm seeing here from the National Hurricane Center, could be a pretty soggy weekend for us here in the Spice Isle. Well, I don't think there are going to be too many people complaining about that. Complaint I've been hearing is about the heat we've been having in this place and the very dry weather. At least when we get these high temperatures down here, yes, they're uncomfortable, but I'll tell you, they ain't as bad as when you're in New York and Toronto and places like that, where the humidity just drives you bonkers. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Talking about the soggy weekend. I also have a little video, which was sent to me by someone, and it's about the transgender issue. We haven't touched on anything like this before, but there's always a first time for everything. And this is a piece done by a gentleman who has some very strong feelings towards the transgender community. And I thought I'd share them with you and get your feedback, your input. Then we go to the national report. And then, of course, Friday morning. I've sent him the invitation. I haven't heard from him. But he's very reliable. At least he's proven himself to be very reliable. And I do expect that Mr. Pitt will be joining us. Brian Pitt will be joining us in the second half of this morning's program. Okay? So that essentially is your rundown for this morning. Now, Claude Pudner is saying good morning and wishing us a blessed day. Fitzroy Adams says, thank God it's Friday. Good morning to all of you guys. And hello there, Margaret. Margaret's also wishing you guys a happy Friday. Now, a tropical wave located about 700 miles east of the Windward Islands, that's continues to produce disorganized showers and thunderstorms. The wave is expected to move quickly westward at about 20 miles an hour during the next few days, and some development is possible while it approaches and moves across the Windward Islands this weekend. Hear this. Upper level winds are forecast to become less conducive for development once the wave moves over the eastern Caribbean Sea. That's after it passes us, okay? And that's going to happen early next week. Formation chance through the next 48 hours is only about 20%. But then, my dear friends, formation chance over the next 5 days will drop to about 30%. So again, I'm not telling you to let your guard down, but I wouldn't go into panic mode. Okay? There's a note that I received last night from the meteorological office here. By the way, what I just read to you came from the National Hurricane Center at 8 o'clock this morning. That's about an hour, 5 minutes ago. But last night I received a note from the Met Office. It says that they continue to closely monitor the development of this system, as it is expected to bring showery activity to the state of Grenada. As such, the Met Office has issued warnings of a medium chance of flooding and landslides by Saturday night and into Sunday. Okay? Now, that ain't all. Meanwhile, a tropical wave is forecast to move off the west coast of Africa this weekend. Environmental conditions are expected to be conducive for development, and a tropical depression or a tropical storm is likely to form early next week while the system moves across the eastern tropical Atlantic. Now hear this one. This is one you got to keep an eye on. Formation chance through 48 hours over the next 2 days. Low, just about 10%. But then, formation chance through the next 5 days. High, 70% chance that something will become of this. All right? Okay. John Nosy Neck says, says, I just sneaked in behind Margaret. Yeah, well, lucky she hasn't kicked you. Ryan Jabon says, it's soggy up here too. That's in Orlando, Florida. Kipling Francis says, God's blessings to everyone. Please share the live. It's time we stop saying something cannot happen. Instead, we say that we say that should not happen until people find the guts to stand up. Thanks, Kipling. Folks, I mentioned to you that we're going to run a little piece for you this morning, a little video. And this is somebody who is going to take on the transgender community. Check this out.
I am sick of the trans community. The trans community are asking us to suspend our logical, rational, critical and analytical capabilities and replace them with sympathy for people who are clearly going through something mentally or neurologically. First it was transgender. A bunch of grown men asking us to call them women because they felt that way. Society played ball. They gave them operations. They made them become more feminine. They chopped off their testicles. They chopped off their penises. They gave them breast augmentations and hormone therapy. And hey presto, I'm a woman. The fact that their chromosomes clearly indicate that they are men means absolutely nothing. What matters is the way they feel. Rachel Dolezal, a white lady in America, attempted to convince the world that she is transracial. She identifies as a black woman. She even had a position in the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. A white woman convinced herself and the rest of the world that she's black, and she went to work in a black organization. The fact that her genetics indicate that she's European means absolutely nothing. What matters is the way she feels. Now here comes trans age. Emil Rattleband, a 70-year-old man who is now asking the court to change the date on his birth certificate because he feels more in his 40s. The amount of times that the earth has orbited the sun while he's been alive means absolutely nothing. What matters is how he feels. Now here comes trans-able. People who feel like they should have been disabled. Some of them even tried to cut off their limbs. and cause themselves harm just to feel disabled. The fact that they are perfectly healthy means absolutely nothing. What matters is the way they feel. Transracial, trans age, and transgender. What's next? Now, before I get called all kinds of phobics, I will say this. Every human on this planet deserves their human rights. I do not wish to kill, harm, enslave, or maim the trans community. But what I am asking is for the trans community to stop the bullshit. Because if you feel this way, that doesn't mean that we should also see you this way. I see myself as handsome. However, if I went to court to force through a motion that all that look at me should call me handsome, well, that's just plain arrogant and egotistical. I'm entitled to my feelings, as are you. But your feelings are about yourself. They should not be my concern. They are your concern. What trans people are asking us to do is to see them the way they see themselves. It's perception. And perceptions are subjective and not objective. Your perception is not our perception. And we are not obligated to call you the thing that you wish to be called. Now, what does the future look like? In my opinion, if we continue along these lines, there will be such blurred lines that we will reach the point of no return. I want us to be very careful because we are raising a generation of very smart young people. And if an adult can identify as a younger person, then the time will come when that younger person now wants to identify as an adult. And hey presto, we will have parents that are now younger than their actual children. The actress Charlize Theron is raising her adopted boy as a girl. She stated that at 3 years old, he said to her, "I'm not a boy." And bingo, she decided to raise him as a girl. Now, I would love for that child, okay, to say to his mother at 7 years old, "I'm not 7, mummy, I'm 54. And see if she now wants to raise him as a 54-year-old man or woman. The lines of facts are about to become very blurred. And apparently, we, the rational thinking public, will be wrong for speaking about the descending madness. There will come a time where a grown man that identifies as a child and a child that identifies as an adult will engage in a relationship. And the words child molester and pedophilia will not be enough because they will be drowned out by I identify as and could you use the proper pronoun? This is our future. But what do I know? I'm just some black guy on the internet.
Well, I'm going to give you the weekend to think about that one. Right? A lot of questions asked there. A lot of questions. Alrighty, folks. By the way, John Nosyneck. John, listen. I guess I've been kind of slow. Yeah? It took me up to last night to realize that this new surname that you have here, Nosyneck, is actually your real name in reverse. Terribly sorry. Didn't recognize that. Didn't pick it up. That's very creative, by the way. He says here, I'm a seenager, S-W-N-A-G-E-R. What's a seenager? It's a senior with a teenager mentality. Yeah. If you guys ever meet this fella, John, yeah, he can be a teenager, believe me. Ryan Jabon says, nice video. Confusing times when biological men are women and biological women are men. Uh-huh. And let's see here. We've now been joined by Charmaine DeLille, Samantha McFarland, and Benedict Cador. Good to see all of you folks. Okay. It's now 15 minutes after the hour. Here comes our first break, and then we will get right into the National Report.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and Food Fair Supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair Supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
SIAP launches vocational skills training program at the New Life organization. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Thursday, September 19th, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. Vocational skills training in the areas of electrical installation, housekeeping and early childhood are being offered for students at NULO with the launch of the Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program. The SIAP program covers approximately $5,000 EC per person for training and is implemented to tackle unemployment issues in the country while promoting entrepreneurship for individuals between the ages of 16 and 35. Mr. Byron Campbell, the project manager of SIAP, who addressed the students on Wednesday at the NULO orientation, has high hopes about the effectiveness of the project.
The government, the country faces this problem and therefore it has to address it. And one way of addressing it is this project, the SIAP project. And the SIAP project is broad. I'm going to just say briefly what it covers. It covers a lot of, first of all, it focuses on young people between the ages of 16 and 35. And also focus a lot on single parents. We know a lot of mothers, as much as 50% in some villages, some communities, are head of their own households. So these are the vulnerable persons, most vulnerable persons are in the community. So the project focuses, the small farmers, for example, the project focuses on this. The project has a business component of it, where it has an MOU with the GIDC. You know what's the GIDC? GIDC to train young people in business and to finance their small business also. That's a big part of it.
He encouraged these students to remain committed to the skills training for the next few months.
And the training is going to be important, critical. And I just want to emphasize that you have to make a sacrifice. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have challenges. Yeah, you're going to have challenges. You're going to find sometimes you don't have enough money. You don't have money for lunch. You don't have money. Check on a family member. Ask for help. Try to complete this course. It's going to be important. It's going to make the difference in your future. Trust me. And this is why the government of Grenada is investing in that. In other words, it's an investment, and let me explain why it's an investment. Because when you borrow money and you invest it, you want to make a profit. The profit the government wants to make is in your future, so that you can provide for yourself and your families.
Executive Director at NULO, Sister Margaret Yamoa, spoke about the importance of the SIAP project.
When you finish and you want to start a small business, that is where your passion is. The skill you have received, you really want to put it into use because you may not have ready employment, somebody to employ you right away. The GIDC part of it that Mr. Campbell spoke about is there. They are not just going to train you how to work your own business, but SIAP is providing funding, real cash, all right? Because there's a difference between teaching me how to run my business and after you teach me, give me what to do to start a business, right? So they are not just ending at teaching you how to run the small business, but they are providing the finances for it.
The Ministry of Health says due to the early closure of the USNS Comfort medical engagement sites on Friday, September 20th, only persons with tickets will be seen at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. In a public notice, the ministry said ticket holders must be at the stadium before 7 a.m. in order to facilitate an early start, and those arriving after that time cannot be guaranteed access. It adds that both sites, the Kirani James Athletic Stadium and the Grenada Trade Center, will close promptly at noon in order to facilitate disassembling and transporting of medical accessories and equipment. During a tour of the USNS on Wednesday, Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell commended the crew for its commitment to providing quality health care to all Grenadians.
I want to thank you guys. I know people are very appreciative of this service. And we look forward to you when you next time you come. I hope you had a chance to not just come and work, but enjoy. This is a spice country, and I hope we have put some spice in your guys' life, right? Yes. So come back. This is Grenada. Thank you all so much. All the best.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Hurricane, prepare for hurricane. Make sure you have your radio and your batteries too. Waterproof flashlight candles will do. Tin stuff, garbage bag, first aid kit. Come on people, make sure you have it. Clean water in a container and a hurricane plan. Hear me no man.
Hurricane damage is beyond your control. Surviving the aftermath is up to you. Have a hurricane plan. It can save your life and your family too.
Prepare for hurricane, your hair prepare for hurricane.
Continuing the news, 15-year-old Giovanni Thomas, a student at the J.W. Fletcher Memorial Catholic School and Grenada's 2019 representative at the International Brain Bee Championship, begins competition in South Korea on Friday, September 20th, where he will compete against the smartest minds from 30 countries. Details in this report by Annette Moore.
A team of 10, including Giovanni, his mother Karen Gordon, his teacher and coach from the J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School, Erin John, Grenada Brain Bee CEO, Pastor Stanford Simon, the national coordinator of the Grenada Brain Bee, Gail Blackett, and others, left for South Korea on Saturday, September 14th, and return on October 2nd.
Knowing the amount of work that I have put in and how much the doctors and Ms. John and basically everyone who has been there to support me and help me in terms of preparations, I do expect to do very well, at least top 3. Right? Giovanni, again, he's put in a lot. I know he's put in a lot of work, coming second by just 1 point last year. So in terms of expectations, it's quite high.
I'm proud of this milestone at this point. Not just me, but management, the parents, the staff, and well-wishers of this noble institution.
The International Brain Bee Championship will consist of 5 components. The first 4 are a written quiz, neuroanatomy practical, neurohistology practical, and patient diagnosis, which will begin Friday, September 20th. And the 5th component, the live judging session, will be on Saturday, September 21st, along with the awards ceremony. This will be followed by a tour and farewell dinner on Sunday, September 22nd. GIS caught up with Giovanni and his principal, Laurel Bartholomew, prior to his departure for feedback on his participation in this international championship.
Preparation-wise, it's been a long 6 months, since March 16th. I've been preparing, reading all the neuroscience books that I would have gotten. One, for instance, the Essential Neuroscience, the different human anatomy atlases, for instance, just going over basic anatomy, the physiology of it, right? It's been, again, a long 6 months. It's a lot of hours I've put into it.
We continue to have the coaches working with him, mainly Miss John, and he continued to be in linkage with that of Miss Blackett, all right? And he continued also to be in coaching with what they call the doctors of SGU, so there are times when he's allowed or permitted to be off from school at a certain time to get that necessary preparation.
They've made multiple individuals who would have helped me go along. First and foremost, Ms. John, my biology teacher. She was there since the beginning, right? Then we have Dr. Tanya Edwards, my personal coach, would have made sure to go over everything that I need to know. There is also Dr. Obadinia of SU. He would have gone over the histological slices with me. There is Dr. Karen Blackman in the neuroscience department at SU. She would have gone over the different patients, what kind of diseases and disorders can they present with.
Giovanni is also thankful for the support of his family and friends.
My parents specifically, they would always make sure that I am there studying, making sure that I'm not, going overboard with my studies, right? Making sure I'm resting enough, making sure I'm eating well, right? The support has been there. Especially with my sister, she's always there calling me, making sure I'm okay, backing me up. Most of my friends are those that, they range from different sort of backgrounds, right? But most of them, I would say, are really into science subjects. So they're really intrigued, how I say, by me doing like this. They've been there supporting me since I've born.
Giovanni credits his parents with providing a good environment for his development and for his high level of discipline and focus, which is driving his current success.
In terms of discipline, I would say it was the way I was raised by my parents, right? They are more or less very strict in whatever I do, whatever activities I partake in. In terms of my strategic sense and my strong sense of self, I would say that a certain event cannot be pinpointed to really be the reason behind that. Really, it has to be like multiple events, which you can't really explain. Again, you are what your environment makes you, right? So whatever you are exposed to, it has an effect on you, whether consciously or unconsciously.
The J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School principal sees Giovanni's success as a significant milestone and testament to the high educational standards at the now 8-year-old institution. She says the school has done quite a significant amount of fundraising to assist with the South Korea trip.
The main purpose there was to try to help with the accommodation and other expenses that would be incurred by either the parent, the coach. For Giovanni, he's largely catered by national lotteries and other bodies that would have helped with his airfare, would have helped with the food, the hotel, and everything. We are praying for him that we know he's going to do this. I will not be surprised if he will be first, but regardless where he falls, that we are grateful for his position.
And Giovanni is looking forward to enjoying this experience.
This is just something that I'm looking forward to, is that going to South Korea, meeting all of these different people. I would say I just try to make some, connections, build some friendships, right? Again, it's not every day that you get to go halfway across the world, meeting all these different kind of people from different backgrounds.
The Ministry of Education extends best wishes to Giovanni while also thanking the administrators of the Grenada Brain Bee Challenge and everyone contributing to Giovanni's success. For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
And finally, not only did the medical officials render invaluable health service to Grenadians during the week-long stay of the USNS Comfort, a team of veterinarians also engaged more than 20 livestock and veterinary officers over a 2-day period. Details by Mina Booker, the Public Relations Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture.
While most of their colleagues were stationed on board the USNS hospital ship Comfort, the Grenada Trade Center, and the National Stadium, a 3-member veterinary team engaged 25 officers from the livestock and veterinary department on controlling the spread of diseases. They met for 2 days this week, discussing other subjects ranging from nutrition to proper health care of animals. Captain Jenny Manhofen, one of the 3 officers attached to the veterinary department of the USNS Comfort, made a presentation on more than 5 areas, including diseases such as the rabies virus.
So I had the absolute pleasure to be able to present yesterday 5 lectures covering rabies virus, brucellosis, animal health considerations and natural disasters, as well as ante-mortem, hygienic animal slaughter, foodborne pathogens, and post-mortem inspection. It's been a wonderful experience, and yesterday I received pretty good feedback on things that they appreciated about the seminars, but also it promoted a really nice dialogue between both the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health staff, and myself, and so I think all of us benefited. I even grew just learning about the things that a lot of the officers and even the veterinarians here are challenged by, the things that work for them, and I hope to bring that back to the U.S. and include this on future missions.
This visit was made possible through discussions with the ministry's Chief Livestock and Veterinary Officer, Dr. Keymond Cummings, the Ministry of Health, and the focal point of the USNS Comfort.
The anticipated outcome from the two-day workshop is basically to give officers a refresher as to, different stuff they would see on the job, like diseases, how to properly do an ante-mortem, post-mortem inspections, what to look for. It's just basically a refresher and to get them to be able to perform more efficiently.
The USNS Comfort operation is part of the deepening of the U.S. engagement in the region under the health pillar of the U.S. Caribbean 2020 strategy. This marks the 7th hospital ship deployment to the region since 2007. The visit of the USNS Comfort is part of the ship's 5-month deployment to Latin America and the Caribbean to conduct surgeries and provide basic medical services. For the Ministry of Agriculture's Public Relations Unit, I am Mina Booker.
And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
Alrighty, folks, that's going to take care of last night's edition of the National Report. And there you have it. There are a few comments I want to share with you before we bring Brian in here. First of all, John Bruno out there in Pitt, Martinique says, can you imagine? We're having a budget consultation here on Pitt, Martinique at 10 o'clock for a selected few. Someone had to remind the team that Pitt, Martinique was a part of Grenada, and that's why they decided to come. Michelle Forsyth, quiet Mr. Pitt. Michelle Forsyth says, congrats to Giovanni. Just reaching this far is a proud moment for us all. Anthony Howard says, great accomplishment, but who's paying for the 10 people? Ryan Jabon says, Viva Giovanni, an international brain bee contest in South Korea. A little note here from Anthony DeRiggs. Anthony says, my condolences to the family of the 3 Grenadian doctors who passed away since July of this year. Yeah, the most recent one at about 8:30 last night, Mr. Barrymore McBarnett passed away last night. And we do extend our condolences to Barry's family and friends, okay? Now, quick break here, and then we're going to bring Mr. Pitt in and let him have his way with you.
In our part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now, for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to Grenlec's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call Grenlec at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Well, this morning I don't have to do an introduction to Mr. Pitt because I see that John here, John Nosyneck, is saying it's pit stop. It's time for the pit stop. You buy that, Mr. Pitt?
Of course, of course, of course. You know, there was a little shop in St. Vincent called the Pit Stop.
I didn't know that. Okay. Shop in St. Vincent. You get around, don't you?
No. I had nothing to do with it, George. But there was a little shop in St. Vincent. I was married to a mid-century, so okay. I spent some time there.
All right. So, Mr. Pitt, what's up your sleeve this morning?
George, there are three issues that I want to spend a little time on this morning.
Take it away.
One is the continued dialogue over this abuse of a journalist or / media worker. The other is the visit of the Comfort to Grenada.
All right.
Comfort the ship. And the third one is has to do with the Fiscal Responsibility Oversight Committee.
Okay.
Whose report I was just reading.
Yeah.
Let me start with this journalist issue, George. It seemed to have further polarized this country in that if I follow what I see on the internet, there were some videos making the round that suggested that in the last administration, there were similar type of abuses to journalists. Now, when I look at some of those videos, my takeaway, George, is that one, the reporters, the media people were asking questions. The response to the questions may have been questionable. Some people were very disturbed about the questions being asked. And I have a feeling that even back then, the NNP seemed to be in control of some journalists or some media workers. So they asked questions that were slighted in a certain direction. And George, I parallel that to what occurred recently. This reporter was not allowed to ask a question. So we moved from questions being asked and people responding whether in favor or not, to a stage where media workers are now not able to ask a question. And I said to myself, but hold on, the people who are promoting what happened in the past as an equivalent of what happens now, can't they see that the thing has gone downhill? Back then you could ask a question, right now you can't. Yes, George?
Yeah, Brian,
and that is disturbing.
That is my concern, and more so than the allegations about the physical assault that took place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if young media workers, especially those who post those things on the social media, can't self-examine what they're doing and say, wait now, if that happened then, and now you can't ask a question, where are we going to be tomorrow?
Yeah.
And if I were those young people, it's their world, and they are creating a little monster here that they might live to regret.
Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell, George.
Yeah. And by the way, I think you started your piece this morning by talking about the alleged abuse of a journalist. Okay. I don't know if you watched this yesterday, but I was explaining to the audience yesterday morning that I had been speaking with a journalist who was not present at that post-cabinet briefing, but has some very close colleagues in the media whom she spoke to, several of them, and she said that they all denied that what was circulating on social media about this woman being pushed to the ground, all denied that it ever happened.
You see, George, and it brings me to this other point. understanding human behavior is something that some of us try very hard to do. You can tell somebody's behavior by their mannerisms, by their physical appearance, of what they do and what they say. I won't be surprised if there is some attempt to understand human behavior that will allow people to self-censor themselves or what they say and what they do. We could be at that psychological part of this whole governance issue, you know, George.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Which is a dangerous place to be.
Yes, sir.
So if a young journalist recognized that they would not be allowed to carry a story in the future because they would truthfully give evidence that will say that this occurred, they may hold back, you know.
Yep. Could be what's happening. I don't know.
And that is the danger, again, of where we are in this whole thing today, George.
Another danger, I don't know whether you noticed it or not, but the American ambassador to Barbados and the OECS was here. And the press secretary attempted to stop a question from being asked of her. And
Yes,
I
yes,
thought,
yes.
you know, this person has to be an absolute nutcase.
Yes,
I could see that happening in the presence of, you know, an ambassador for Japan or China or someplace. But to do something like that in the presence of the American ambassador, where freedom of speech is so dear to these people, that has to be the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of.
And you know what's so interesting about that, George? The American ambassador came here with that on her agenda, you know, to talk about the sale of passports. So she was glad when a reporter raised that point so she can make her input. And I found that very amusing, George. We still don't understand how important press freedom is in some of us getting the message.
Brian, you and I may laugh at it, but let me tell you, it could have very, very serious consequences for Grenada. To do something like that in the presence of an American ambassador, you got to be bonkers.
Yes, of course. And I mean, some of the releases coming out of the Ministry of Information is laughable, to be quite honest with you. But I understand this matter is now in the hands of the police. So maybe a proper investigation would be done.
Well, haven't you heard that an investigation has already been done? Didn't you hear Senator Steele's statement?
Well, you know, I credit Senator Steele with more gray matter than what I saw in that report. And if he is circumventing a police inquiry or investigation, he might have some questions to answer because he's attempting to influence the pool, whether that pool is a jury or that pool is a police force or that pool is a DPP. That's what he's doing, you know. He's interfering with an ongoing investigation. And that in itself, if I'm not mistaken, George, could be considered a crime.
Well, Brian, the police have not come out and said anything about Cellgate. They've not said anything, not that they would have too much to say about the security detail. They have not come out and said anything about this particular incident. So, I mean, come on, what do you expect? What do you expect, Brian?
Well, George, let the matter take its natural course and see what happens. I am not going to speculate on what might happen. If this young lady has a good enough litigation lawyer, and there might be not that many in Grenada, I believe we might very well hear some more utterances as time goes by.
All right. I'll take your advice, sir, and I'll wait.
Yes, George, the ship, the Comfort, was here, or is here, attending to the medical needs of our people. And if the numbers are correct, and there were over 5,000 people seeking medical attention, George, I asked myself the question, what is the health of the country? What is the health of the country? And are people not going to see a doctor because they can't afford it? Are they not going to health clinics around the island because they're not there? Are they not using the emergency service for some other reason? Maybe they have to wait a long time. What is wrong with the health care that we are providing for our people? And that, to me, is a takeaway question about the number of people.
Stick a pin. stick a
Yes.
pin, Brian, because there's one question you've asked some very important ones. There's one I'm still waiting to hear you ask. Could it be that the people just don't trust or respect the level of health care we have?
Yes, that could be one of them, George, and another one could be affordability.
Yeah.
Times are hard, huh? And the sad thing about health, George, is that we, from time to time, do not know what is taking place in our bodies. We get up in the morning and we look in the mirror and we can see an outline, but we do not see inside. So when we believe we might be healthy, we might not be. And not only the cost of medical care, George, but the cost of getting tests done. Whether it's a scan or whether it's an x-ray, whatever it is, that is a major cost. So we can go to a doctor and find out that there's something wrong with us, and the doctor might very well recommend some tests that we cannot afford to take.
Yep.
And our health will deteriorate by the day. So I hope the people in the health department is taking note of the number of people. I know they will get a report from the Americans of what they did here. And that should be a teaching moment for our health in the country.
There are a couple of points I want to take up here with you on behalf of Margaret. First of all, Margaret is asking the question, what is wrong with health care in Grenada? Answer, it kills.
I don't want to make light of this, but because the health of the nation is a wealthy nation.
Yeah.
We have to look after the health of our people and find a way to do it.
Going back to Mr. Steele's statement, she says, Brian is quite right in his assessment. You just responded to Mr. Steele's statement. Well, Margaret, I think that's a blanket statement you're making because I know that you know better. There's something Mr. Steele said, and I brought this up on the program yesterday. There's something he said about, how accessible government officials are, or words to that effect. And let me tell you, you're going to have to chop my head off before you could convince me of that. And I think everybody who's been listening to my Sunday program for the last, 15 years, they know the hell that I have had getting information out of government ministers. So please.
Because, George, you have been blacklisted. You see, you ask questions that they don't want to answer.
Well.
And that is the bottom line. If you ask them a question they don't want to answer, because for whatever reason they don't want to answer the question, maybe it might go towards the lack of good governance in the country. Then they will blacklist you.
Anthony de Rigg says, some who went to the Comfort medical ship might need to follow up. Hope they are able to do so.
Now, therein lies a major problem, because I know of one person, George, who went to the Comfort, and they have recommended a further test to be done on this particular person. I think it's whatever the test is. And I don't believe that person can afford to do the test.
Yeah.
So yes, there would be follow-up. And therein lies the test, I guess, for the healthcare system.
Yes, sir. The ship leaves today, by the way, as far as I understand it.
Yes, and I hope they haven't injected some of our people with some experiments.
Yeah, that's.
I saw some stuff making the round. But George, it's an interesting question, because the Americans in the person of Barack Obama has just apologized to the people of Guatemala, I think it is, where some medical tests was done in the 40s by the Americans. Yes?
Let me tell you, the people of St. Lucia have rebelled very vociferously about this thing, Brian.
Yes. The Americans have a history, a not too pleasant history of experimenting in this thing.
Yeah. Hold on, before you move on, another one from Margaret. Margaret says, Brian, I'm not making light of it all. Too many people are dying at the hands of the healthcare system. And worse, they are dying from simple things. Can you imagine what is happening in the truly complex situations?
Yes. Margaret is right. Absolutely.
All right. Go ahead.
Fiscal Responsibility Oversight Committee, George. I was reading a report from these folks recently. And something caught my eye, that recommendations out of that committee for the last couple of years have not been adhered to. And I am saying to myself, okay, Fiscal Responsibility Committee, loopholes in the law that will allow the governance of this country to not be controlled. Financing could be spent in areas that they are not, that doesn't truly represent how we are spending and taking in money. And those recommendations have not been adhered to. And some of those recommendations, George, are tweaking of the law itself. And I am saying to myself, hold on a minute. So why is that committee there? To look at the finances of the country and find ways of tightening the controls that we may have on how government spend our money. You know, George, I am going to make an extreme statement. If after 2 or 3 years of presenting reports and recommendations to the government of Grenada, and they have not seen it fit to take those recommendations on board or bring it up at all for debate, I will resign with good reason. Because my role as a committee is being misused and abused for political ends, George. I leave it right there. I know what other thing came to mind, George? This whole process of election and election monitoring. In that after every election for the last 40 years, and I've been back in there, there have been recommendations by those people who are here.
Observer missions.
Monitoring observer missions, monitoring our elections, and putting out reports that suggest there are questions in certain areas of our electoral process. And nothing has been done.
Well, that point was raised very recently about the reports coming out of the last election from the OAS and the CARICOM observer missions. So the person was asking, I think one of the papers was asking whether or not these have been implemented, those recommendations. And as far as most of us know, they have not. So I think what's going to happen is that just before the next election, we will hear that these things have been implemented. What say you?
I thought very much there will be talk about it on the platform, but that is not what people would want to listen to. They probably want to know if they're going to get some dollars in the next T-shirt.
You plan on going to get yours already, eh?
just in closing, George, there seems to be a debate also in this regard about whether the petrol-carry debt is public or private. And I am laughing at this whole debate that's taking place. Because the petrol-carry deal with Venezuela is a contract that was signed between the government of Grenada and the government of Venezuela. So it has to be a national debt. Not only that, George, but recently, I understand there is a U.S. bank buying up some of this petrol-carry debt. I believe they have bought the Jamaica debt. If I'm not mistaken, the price on the market was less than 50 cents. So some American banks are sitting on some of this debt here. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what's going to happen over time, but I venture to say this is a public debt that has not been disclosed in the financing of our country and in our budget presentation. George, that's all I have this morning.
That's enough, sir. That's enough. And I do thank you, Mr. Pitt.
Thank you, George. Have a nice weekend.
Speaking about weekend, you heard this morning that it's going to be a soggy weekend from the look of things, eh?
I did.
Did you hear this morning that it looks like it's going to be a soggy weekend? There's a tropical wave about 700 miles east of here.
George, when I look at the weather report, there are a lot of these systems all over the Caribbean and Atlantic. I mean, it looks like a set of, like ants.
And actually, there's one getting ready to come off the coast of Africa right now. And
yes.
That one they do expect is going to develop into a storm. It's not even off the coast of Africa yet, and it has a 70% chance of developing into a storm. So you can imagine. You can imagine.
Yes, we're gonna be wet.
But then again, you know, we had a very quiet first half of the hurricane season, so I guess we're getting caught up.
But I don't think we should say the first half of the hurricane season, you know, because Mother Nature has other plans for us. We don't know what the hurricane season is.
That's right. It used to be ending at, November 30th, and now we have had storms into December, January.
Oh, yes. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Mr. B.
Have a great weekend.
All right, sir. You too. Mr.
Okay,
Brian Pitt, thank you very much, Brian. Always good to see you and hear you. Folks, it's now, let's see here, two and a half minutes away from the hour. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back, wrap it up.
Good morning, Gren Lake Meter Reader.
Morning, Mr. Meterman. I'm glad I caught you. Last month, I got a very high bill, and I don't understand why.
Last month, we were not able to access your meter, so we had to estimate the bill. This will happen if we don't get an actual reading.
So what can I do to ensure that my meter is easily accessible?
Well, you can get your licensed electrician to move your meter outside of the gate or directly in front of the house. That way, I'll have easy access and I won't have to deal with your dog.
Ah, Butch.
Yes, dogs can be a problem sometimes. On one occasion, I was attacked by a dog and police had to get involved. Customers who don't want to cage or tie their dogs should really move their meter and make it easily accessible.
Well, I'll consider that.
Thank you.
GrenLake, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
All right, folks, a couple of quick notes here. First of all, Rachel John, who has just joined us, is saying there's a passenger bus in the water on the Carenage. And somebody also sent me a video here. Hang on a sec, let me see. I'm trying to open up this video. It's pretty darn small, so I'm not able to actually tell what's happening. But yes, there is a bus in the water around the Carenage. Don't know how he got there or she got there, but so be it. There's also a note, and this sounds like, you know, one of those conspiracy theories that we hear so much about these days. I'm not going to say whether I agree or disagree with this, but Jem FM, the sheriff, is saying, I'm not one to trust the Americans at all. The question now, in light of what is happening in Grenada, why are our doctors dying off one after the other like that? Is it because they were objecting to things within the health system? You know, I shared that with you because I do believe you have freedom of expression, freedom of speech. But, you know, unless I have evidence that there's something to what you're saying, I don't necessarily go along with it. Pilgrims, let's wrap it up. 10 o'clock on the button. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 26 to 31. Brothers and sisters, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are, so that no one may boast before him. It is because of him that you are in Christ Jesus, who has become for us wisdom from God. That is, our righteousness, holiness, and redemption. Therefore, as it is written, let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, 26 to 31. Now, methinks that's going to do it for today. Folks, been another all-around good week. Thank you so much for being a part of it and making it happen. Please join us on Sunday morning for the next edition. Boy, we've had some zingers over the past few Sundays, eh? Please join us for Sundays with George Grant and, of course, every day next week for Gudday, Grenada, starting 9 o'clock on Monday morning. Hold on a minute. Let's see what else here. What's the condition with Dr. Friday? I haven't a clue what you're talking about, Rachel. Okay. Okay. I think that's where we're going to pull it down. Thanks a lot, folks. Have a great weekend. God bless you.